We are live. Welcome to Business AI Simplified, the show where we talk about technology and AI from a non-technical lens, bringing on guests of all levels in various types of businesses and industries to touch on topics such as strategy, process, people, emotions, and more. Because just like you, I'm wondering where this disruptive technology fits into businesses and how people feel about it. Also, we're now on Spotify, so if you're listening in from there, thank you for your support. My name is Yasin Haransky, and I'm your host for today. And I've helped digitally transform all sorts of businesses in various industries, from publicly traded large international organizations to nonprofits and everything else in between. I am also the founder of Lunico, where we are building AI that is helping businesses integrate technology better, faster, and at a reduced cost. And today, I am joined by Jonathan Mahendran, who is a manufacturing executive in the aerospace industry, who's based out of sunny California, and he's played part in some of the most impactful and important manufacturing programs of our era. Programs that are very strategic, highly technical and technological, super valuable, not just to businesses, but to entire countries, working with the biggest aerospace manufacturing companies in the world. And Jonathan's done it at various levels, managing an entire manufacturing operations as the general manager, which is where we met in California, to overseeing the development as a vice president of programs, which is his current role. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. Jonathan, thanks for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm also very excited to be part of your show and excited to talk about program management and introduction of technology into that field.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen each other in person. Probably last time was either in San Diego or Orange County. I was probably a little bit more tanned at that time, getting a little bit more sun than what I get here in Vancouver.
Right. Yeah, I think it was San Diego, and definitely we spent a lot more time together when we were in Brea together.
Absolutely. So let's get to what people wanna listen about. So I want to start with what's on a lot of people's minds. Now, we're seeing more and more organizations get on board the digital transformation train recently, the AI hype. And I think that this is going to continue to grow as things like that become more mainstream. Now, when you think about AI and technology at an enterprise level, there's still tons of opportunity left. Now, Jonathan, you're in that perfect balance role, right? Where you're working directly with the C-level executives to deliver on the company vision. But you're also working with the more tactical project managers and doers to ensure that they're delivering on what you need them to focus on. So tell me, and manufacturing or program management, wherever you'd like to start, tell me where you see areas where AI or just better technology can have an impact.
Yeah, the first word that comes to my mind, yes, is I think it can positively affect the aerospace community and industry. I think in the past, the aerospace industry has been a little bit lagging in terms of introduction of new technologies, a little bit slower paced if you compare it to automotive and so forth. But there's obviously been some advancements in the past few years. So I think just like the rest of the world that is already in AI or introducing it into their businesses, it can have the same positive impact into the aerospace community. So I think there's a lot of folks that are probably fearful of AI and what it may potentially do, but I think it's just could be stemming from perhaps a lack of understanding of what the potential benefits that it can do for your company.
Right. So if we look at, let's say, project manager, right? Because the project managers you'll be overseeing them to make sure that they build the programs and all the things that you guys need to be able to ship and do it successfully on time with having happy customers, right? How do you see them being more enabled with some of the latest technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I think PMs, and certainly, using my own experience as a young PM and not so young anymore, but, we've always been bogged down with their, all the administrative duties, like recording minutes of meeting, the actions, what decisions we're making, what are the risks, opportunities, and all that program reporting, which can seem endless for many folks, especially when they have multiple projects under their belt. So, I think while it is the necessary evil to be able to, be responsible for all those tasks I just mentioned, it's our obligation to plan, execute, monitor, control projects. So it comes with a job, so to speak. But what if technology could help record, gather, organize, automate, standardize many of those tasks which bog us down, right? So imagine if that happened, the capacity we would have as PMs to really focus on the critical issues, the decisions we need to make, the actions we need to take, all the risks we need to mitigate, and the opportunities that we could leverage, right? So it inevitably leads us to become more proactive versus being in the arduous administrative things that might not be so sexy, in our daily job. But to me, it's technology that can help support our ability to become proactive and less reactive as program manager. And I think that's really the key to being a successful PM, is being proactive, right? So for me, I've always told my team, here's my mantra. My mission statement for all of you is, I want us to be proactive, predictable, passionate, high-performing, professional program managers. I use a lot of P's there, but hopefully they can remember all that. But that's truly, at the past couple of companies that I've been at, that's the same mission statement that I deliver to the team. And I think it's a very important one.
Right. And actually you touch on a very good point, because, and I'll dissect each point, right? When it comes to keeping track of action items and meeting recordings and whatnot, right? Like that's, I think, one of the easier uses of AI, right? You pay $10, $15 a month, and you basically have a note taker in every single one of your meetings. But when it comes to project reporting, I don't think it's been used as much as it should be. And you're absolutely right. Project managers are spending a lot of time on those non-sexy tasks, as you're sort of mentioning there, right? So in your mind, then you're saying, Jonathan, like, okay, if they're spending less time on gathering the information and looking at various spreadsheets and where's this data coming from and putting together reports, that it'll allow them to be more proactive and, the better decisions, manage the risks a lot better, right? And all the many P's that you have there as part of the Jonathan, project management code of conduct, right?
Right.
So, okay, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, what do you think, right? Because look, you give people, you take away a lot of administrative tasks, but here's the thing, right? A lot of the project management role today is that, right? Like we'll come in, we'll set up entire teams to gather information, to talk to people and get updates. How do you think people are going to adapt as they have to do less of that and more risk management, decision making, and being proactive? I don't know if that's going to come natural to everyone.
I think it'll be a shift, no doubt, with any change. And as you might remember, any little change that occurs in an organization just amplifies somehow, especially when you're a GM and you go, oh, we're going to just change this, and then it becomes a whole dramatic thing. But I remember when we worked together, your change control management, that you really emphasize that. And it's such an important thing to be aware of and cognizant and to manage, so that people do not become anxious. They understand what we're trying to do, the vision, what are the benefits, what are perhaps some of the things we, might impact the business, but, the overall, benefits that it'll have for the organization itself. So I think, people today I don't think they're very cognizant of the fact that they're mitigating risk, even in their personal lives on a daily basis. For example, some are financially responsible. They've created an emergency fund, for potential life events that might occur. People like you and me, and even Garland, we were just talking about working out and taking care of our health so that we mitigate future health issues. And even some nerds like me who are golfers, right? We look at the pin position before we drive the ball so we know where to land it in the fairway. But those are all sort of risk mitigation things that we might not be aware of, but that's what we're doing. And so in terms of work, why wouldn't we be doing that every single day if we had the capacity to do that and really focus on the future and being proactive and how to make sure these risks don't become issues? I guarantee you that's going to support more successful execution and management of programs. And so, I think people just need to understand, while it is a big change, it can be a really good change for, creating good results and successful results in program management. And when you do that as a PM, hopefully you're going to get compensated and appreciated for the good work that you have put in.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, right? Do you think that project managers are going to be like, oh, great, I don't have to spend as much time gathering information, and all the data that I need is fed to me in a friendly way that I don't have to put together, and it's consistent and standardized throughout? Awesome. Now I should really spend more time on managing my risks. I mean, because to you, it comes natural, right? Like that's a part of why you're successful. But not to every project manager, right? Some project managers are just used to, this is part of my job, I'm just gathering this information. So do you think people are going to take the opportunity and say like, okay, great, I can focus more of my time on that? Or are they going to be more like, well, what am I going to do with my time, and become fearful of their overall roles?
I think that's a great point, meaning, we can create these fancy dashboards, which I would love to do. I mean, you and I have talked about Homer Simpson and the dashboard when he's in the nuclear power plant and all these things are right in front of him, right? And so in the same fashion, if you had all these metrics in front of you, measuring performance of various areas or departments, et cetera, for some, they would just look at it and go, okay, now what? And for others, they would be able to see, hey, these are below the targets. And that's an important thing, by the way. So when you create those KPIs, there better be a target to indicate, are we performing well or not to the plan, right? So in the event that somebody's looking at that stuff, it should trigger some kind of analysis and obviously some decisions to be made if there's things that are perhaps not on plan. And even in the ones that are on, perhaps there's some opportunities to see from that. What are we doing better so that we can apply that to other areas of our business that are not performing as well? So I think, to your point, technology could go as far as making suggestions to a leader or even to an organization or team, going, hey, listen, this one is below where it needs to be. Here are 1, 2, 3 things that we are recommending. I'm pretending I'm the technology AI database or brain. That it can basically dictate or inform a team what you should be doing, right? So I think technology could take it to that next level and really help businesses focus on the right things every single day, so they are continuously improving year over year.
Right. That's really good. Now, one of the things that you are obviously very focused in your role as a leader, right, is you're trying to make the performance of your team dependent on a management system, right? A set of processes and technology, and something that you define of like your operating model, right? Your many P's that we kind of talked about earlier. But the truth is that the majority of project management today is very person dependent, right? On how good of a project manager is, how proactive they are naturally, right? And how inclined they are to look at data and look for data, even when it's not easily presented, right? So I think you're saying that there's an opportunity where technology can basically bridge the gap between the two to make it more process dependent. But what role do you think education is going to play in that? And how do you grab your best performing project managers and essentially, replicate whatever it is that they're doing to be successful with this new technology so that it can apply to, your least performing project managers?
Good question. I think what you'll notice, well, what I've noticed in my previous experience, thinking about the top performers, usually the top performers are focusing on all the right things and have a process, a standardized process that they've been following project after project. And it just helps simplify the way they manage to, because they're doing it the same way they've done it before. Obviously, there's some idiosyncrasy or nuances from project to project, but fundamentally, they're following, whether it be a phase gate process, some checklist, action rail, risk register. I think, for me, it would be, gathering the best PMs in the organization and utilizing them to help me educate the rest of the PM organization about best practices, right? I don't want to, my strategy is always not, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do. That's not how I like to lead. If I can show by example, and not just me as the leader, but if I can get some of my other best performers, I assume they will buy into what they're doing because I already know they're doing, following the processes and doing a great job executing. If I've got a team behind me, great performers helping me to mentor and educate the rest of the organization about, hey, look, if we did it this way, this is really why we've, for the most part, been successful. I think it's more impactful, a little bit more powerful, to convince a greater organization, a team, as opposed to just a single leader. So I would engage those guys and gals that have been performing well to help me sort of educate the rest of the team.
Right. Now, you say that's so like easy, right? Because it's very natural for you. It's very logical for you to choose your best people to really drive a strategic initiative that is going to help long term. But here's the truth, right? A lot of either manufacturing operations leaders or program management leaders are struggling with is that they need those people in the short term to be successful. And without them, they're introducing a lot of risk, right? Now, one of the things that, you've obviously done really well is balance that, right? Balance that short-term need on like, okay, we're introducing extra operational risk by grabbing our best project managers or our best, schedulers or maintenance crew, or whatever it might be. And we're going to allocate them towards essentially educating and creating the next wave of how we're going to do business here at whatever company we're doing with. So what goes through your mind in terms of balancing that?
Yeah, I can think of a great example. Yes, when we were working together with the ERP implementation at the Brea facility, an aerospace company. The other thing that also comes to mind as I think about that example is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and sharpening the saw was one. It's probably the last one that is so important, where it's hard for folks and leaders to go, hey, I'm going to use my best people to, to fix this problem while it's going to, impact the rest of the business, to be able to see that fixing this program or this problem today is actually going to have long-standing, continuous improvements, sustaining improvements, i.e. sharpening the saw for the organization in the years to come. So I think the struggle for many, and certainly I've had that before in my past, is, gosh, I don't want to impact the business today because I got to ship tomorrow. I got to ship you, whatever it might be, right? But, you have to rip off that Band-Aid and use those folks to help the business employ a long-term, more successful business operation and processes going forward. So you just got to bite the bullet, knowing that the benefits in the future are going to be very, very impactful for the organization.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's very good. Yeah, because the truth is that in these sorts of projects, right, digital transformations or any sort of business transformation, right, like they're not easy, man. Right. It's like, I mean, running a manufacturing operation is not easy, right? Running a lot of complex aerospace projects are not easy, right? None of these things are easy. They're plagued with problems. Things are going wrong all the time. Emotions are very high. People are pushed to their boundaries. And really finding those people that are your high performance will make all of the difference, right?
Absolutely. And you got to make sure, because when you implement ERP and that's not a minor change. That is a massive change for an organization. But again, the reason you do that is to evolve that company to be able to, let's call, stabilize the organization and prepare for growth, right? You get to that, I don't know, $25-30 million threshold, and you go, oh my God, we can't run it the way we used to, mom and pop style. We need a system to organize all the information to help us plan, procure, all those kind of things, so that we can have a good business that can grow in the years to come. And so with the people that you're going to ask, the top performers that you're going to ask to help do this, they have a day job, right? They also have their other things that they do every single day. And now you put this on their plate and go, all right, you also need to do the implementation of the ERP. And so putting that on the 3 to 5 guys or gals that you're going to, trust, you got to make sure you take care of them as well. Right. So you've got to make sure that, whether it's compensation or little things here and there, but patting them on the back every single time there's a small win, it's very, very important. Right. So these guys are doing double the work. Make sure they're well taken care of. And that way you're going to have high performers that are feeling appreciated, that really want to help the company out, that understand the long-term benefit of what they are doing and that they are a part of. That way, the organization, it'll be a win-win when they're taken care of, and obviously when you have the ERP system implemented at the business.
Right. So operations leaders, take note, because here we've come into many integrations, implementations, digital transformations, where a big reason as to why things are failing are because they've not chosen their best people or the right people for the role, right? Because they're fearful of that. But you're right, Jonathan, right? If they're going to be the ones that define the future for the organization, and they're going to define how you execute, what your business process looks like, how your system is set up, I mean, you've got to have the right people in place, and you've got to enable them well, and make sure you take care of them. I think a lot of people miss that last stage. They're like, oh, it's a good opportunity for them. They're going to be happy, but they don't see how much they struggle to really balance their multiple jobs or the demand of a new project or transforming a business. That they just assume they're going to be happy with that, but they're really not always.
One thing I'll add, yes, is, even so that was an ERP implementation, which is obviously revolutionary for many businesses. But even when we talk about today of AI and technology going forward, those high performers, I can guarantee you, those ones that you picked probably are very open to change. They understand, obviously, the benefits of introducing, in that situation, ERP, which is also technology, obviously, and what it can do for businesses. So I think even when we talk about today and going forward with AI and all the other new technologies that's being introduced, when you're trying to implement that into your business, you're probably going to want to find the folks that are very open-minded and are ready to embrace the change, as opposed to the folks that are sitting on the fence and go, this is the way we've always done it. Those are probably the guys and gals that you probably don't want on your team.
Right. Yeah, that's very good. I don't think that gets enough attention, but it should. It's not just the role of the person that you have to consider, but you have to consider their willingness to explore, to learn something new, to grow, and to be open-minded to change. And I will say this, we'll talk a lot about managing down, right? Like the people basically implementing this or benefiting from the technology directly. But just as importantly, it's managing up with the executive team, right? So how, what do you think about, Jonathan? Like what goes through your mind there?
Yeah, I think with my experience, they're thinking about how do we reduce costs, right? They're looking at numbers. That's what they get measured on. I get it, right? I'll take it one level down. Like in my current position as VP programs, when there's a multitude of projects and programs across the business, you don't want to spend time trying to decipher what this project status is trying to tell you. I want to know that I'm looking at the same information across different projects, so that, I'm really focusing on the performance of how we're doing and not going, well, this is measured differently in this project than that one, right? I do not want to spend any time doing that. So non-value add. So with technology, right, if we design something that's going to pull from the MRP system, it's going to pull from the bid database, maybe that's in the ERP system as well. It's going to pull from an MS Project Enterprise server. You might have a financial repository out of QuickBooks. Who knows? But if the technology can pull all the pertinent information classified or categorized by project and program into a standardized template that's organized in the way the executive wants to see it, whether that be financial schedule, risks, or the other way around, who knows, whatever. Then now we're really looking at the same metrics across each program and project, and it allows the executive and obviously the PM and the IPTs to make decisions, right? And we're talking about the same metric across the board. So for me, it's, if we can make it a win-win situation where we take that administrative effort of trying to go, oh, where do I even get that information on schedule and financial and risk, and pulling from all these different things to put it into an Excel format or a PowerPoint format just to show, hey, Mahendran, or the executive or the CEO. If we take that away, that's a win for the PM. And on the flip side, if I'm the executive of VP programs looking at standardized reporting, and I know that it's real time and it's automated, so to speak, pulling from the various databases, gosh, I know that I can trust the data. I got to be careful when I'm saying trust the data, but I know it's coming from the system itself. There's no manipulation from a PM, so to speak. So I want to make sure I convey that the right way. But if it's coming from systems real time, then I know I'm looking at pretty accurate data on all projects. And I think that's a win for the leadership team as well.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point, because what I think a lot of executives miss is that a lot of the reporting that happens, by the time it makes it into that nice, clean cut PowerPoint presentation, it's been filtered by many levels. And they might be making a decision on what they think is reality, but not necessarily what is reality. And that doesn't help anybody. Right? So you're basically saying you need standardization, you need to be able to communicate things well, and then screw the bullshit, focus on the unfiltered truth that can be based on metrics, can be based on the things that matter, schedule, risk, etc., so that you can be effective communicating up and getting the decisions or the funding or whatever you need from the executive team.
That's right. I think it's pretty understood when a program or project's in the red. I mean, a financial shouldn't schedule way off track, right? We know it's in the red. I think the massaging happens when it's in the yellow, or maybe it's green, right? And that to me, that comes down to leadership too. If they permit the team to have some flexibility in the way they critique or score their programs, that's going to inevitably happen. I lean the other way, where I usually establish thresholds or criteria for what is a yellow, green, red type of financial situation of the project, and even with the schedule in terms of days late or on track and so forth, right? So I think that's, having the naked truth and removing the massaging from PMs, because let's face it, right? Data is black and white. It's unemotional. And so just having that, honesty in front of us, that's what we need to do to make the right decisions, right? So no massaging.
Right. That's awesome, Jonathan. Very good stuff that you're saying there. So, one of those, like, that's not something that comes natural to everybody, right? And people a lot of think are like, oh, I got to massage this is red, but how can I make it yellow, right? So that
Yeah.
we make it through this meeting, this weekly reporting, monthly reporting, whatever that is. I don't think enough organizations are standardizing their reporting. A lot of companies think they standardize it, but when you really get into the details, you see that they don't, and there's some massaging that sort of happens in there. And you used a big word, right, which is trust, because I think one of the things that makes somebody like you, successful is being able to know who to trust, who not to trust, and knowing when to trust somebody and when to ask for more information. And that's not really something that you can sort of learn in school, like the school of hard knocks,
Yeah.
from being burned by people and being successful with others. So what kind of advice do you have for somebody sitting in a similar position as you, who wants all the things that you're saying but doesn't necessarily have that trust?
Yeah, what comes to my mind, gosh, it's not even just work related, but it's life. It's really about, let's call it, really listening. I mean, am I just hearing this person, or am I, attentive and engaged and actively listening to what my partner, my wife, my girlfriend, or my work colleague is telling me? And I think that's the only way that, first of all, on the flip side, when you are an active listener, the person on the other side of you knows you're listening to them. You're not looking away, you're not multitasking. So, they know that you're listening. And that's when that trust starts to begin, from let's call it from the base level, right? And then the trust starts to evolve when you're, as a leader, going, well, what's your recommendation, right? What do you suggest we do in terms of in the situation, Mr. PM, Mrs. PM? And when they give a proposal and you go, I love it, go do it, right? Then you're empowering them to go and execute the proposal they have presented to you. And so that, again, that now the trust is starting to build, where now you said, I trust you to go and do that, and let them do that. And you know what? I think that's how you start building that relationship and that trust between your employees, your team, your whole site, and so forth. It starts with listening. And it starts with the next level, to me, is empowerment, empowering them to make decisions. And of course, the next one is, not every decision is going to be good. There's bad ones too, but making sure that you're supportive when something goes wrong. Okay. So, something has gone off plan. You empowered them. Great. Right. And then they went and did it. Didn't do what we were hoping it to do. You come in, you don't hit them on the head. Well, you shouldn't have done that. Right. No, it's about, okay, great. We tried it. Right. It didn't work. So what do we think we're going to do right now? What are the other proposals? Right. So making sure you're supportive. What help do you need? What support can I give you as a leader, to help, bring it back onto course? So making sure you're supportive during the tough times, so to speak, as a leader, as well as the good times, right? So when there's good times, it's about appreciation. And again, it's always about appreciating, but in those times, you give that little pat on the back, good job, great job, to not just the PM, but the rest of the organization, because all we know PMs is toothless tigers. Nobody reports to us. we're just trying to corral a team and influence a team to be successful and execute, right? So making sure you're supportive and appreciative of the entire team and not just the PM itself. So I think, there's different levels of gaining that trust as a leader. But again, it starts with just listening.
Right. The basic skills of listening, being able to communicate, right? Like open to change, all those become a more pressing thing to look for as technology ends up taking a lot of the work away from us that is
Yes.
administrative and monotonous and repetitive and whatnot. Right. Now, let me ask you this, Jonathan. What role does culture play in terms of being able to successfully transform a business or integrate new technology into its operations?
Culture is huge. I might go on a limb and say culture is number one. I think that people that enjoy coming to work, it's predominantly because they enjoy working with the people that are there, the team that they're a part of, that they're working with. I think that makes it a lot more fun and enjoyable. When you're working in a good culture, there's good morale. We're supportive of each other through thick and thin, through the failures and the wins. And when we feel like we're part of a team, it just makes things more enjoyable. So the culture is super important. Yes, people are going to say, I'm going to go because of the money, but they get there and the team and the culture is not good. I guarantee you they're not going to be very happy there. So in terms of having a good culture, when you're introducing new technology, gosh, that's a win, right? Because they're open to it. They're embracing the change. They're excited about the future. What can we do better? They probably have a continuous improvement mindset, and they don't want to sit on the fence. They want to evolve, their professional career. All right. So as the world evolves around us, we can't be sitting on the fence. I guarantee you that those folks that are doing that are probably not going to go as far, and maybe that's okay with them. But the ones that are eager and driven and want to succeed, gosh, those are the things that excite me. When I join a team, I'm looking for those types of behaviors. I'll just give a quick example with the new company that I'm going to work for. That was the first thing I'm looking at as I do the facility tour. Are the people engaged? Are they working? Are they talking to each other, or heads down, not talking to each other, or not doing anything? Well, this company that I'm going to go into, people were talking. There was you feel the energy, and so that was a great signal that this is what I want to be a part of. If you've got team members that are eager to listen and wanting to learn, what else can you ask for? They want to get better, and if that's the right leadership, then we can make sure we're being successful. We're thorough, we're proactive, predictable, high-performing program management professionals, but we're also having fun every single day.
Right. That's awesome, Jonathan. Sounds like a great place to be. So let me ask you one final question, right? You look at either younger project managers, right, or younger people in manufacturing operations, look up to somebody like you, want to eventually be in a similar role, right? What thoughts or advice would you leave them with in an era of technology?
In the era of technology, well, I think, like we had mentioned a few times, understanding that the world is evolving every single second around us today, and embracing that, and knowing that technology can really do a lot of great things for us, as it has done over the past 20, 30 years. I mean, it's just been transformational with the web and all these things that have occurred. It's just been revolutionary, right? We're going into a new generation, a new phase of the world and life and so forth. And we're in it. It's starting to happen, right? Not only with the AI, but now we're going to eVTOLs flying all over the place, right? Watch out for the helicopter is going to land on my head. But having folks that are open and willing to embrace technology, I think you've got to have that and understanding. And if you don't, maybe it's a lack of understanding of what the benefits could be. So educate yourself. Educate yourself with, AI. There's many courses online I've seen that you can pay for them, or you don't even have to pay for them, right? There's tons of podcasts. There's tons of YouTube videos. Start educating yourself about what is starting to occur with the world, right? And get ahead of it. Understanding like, okay, if I want to be part of this new movement or new generation, how can I contribute? What can I learn today to be able to contribute in the future as a leader in an organization? I think it's happening, right? So all these companies are starting to look at AI and what, they're using ChatGPT on their phone. So why can't I do that at work? So, start educating yourself, knowing it's about to happen, and come in with, you can look like the smart guy or gal and coming into your boss and go, hey, listen, this thing can do this and this. We could really improve operational efficiency and drive down costs. I guarantee you the CEOs, you will perk up a little bit. Oh, drive down costs, improve efficiency. Yeah. So just start educating yourself would be my message.
That's awesome. Yeah, great message, Jonathan. I think our listeners will appreciate that, right? So, and it's a good way to really segue into what the show is about, right? It's in an era of AI, you don't need to be the most technical. You don't need to be the one that understands technology the best, right? You have to be the one that is open-minded and communicates well and can connect things to companies' objectives to be successful. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show, right? This is a great chat. Right, we'll have to do this again sometime. So everybody else, thank you for listening in. Stay tuned for next episode. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.